Tech leaders sound off about politics, giant hard drives are coming, and a new video game that has a feminist icon who is also a cat. All that and a whole lot more coming up on Tech News Today.
This is Twit. Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and once again, time for Twit's audience survey. We'd really like to hear from you. It's only going to take a couple of minutes, really. That's all. Just go to twit.tv/survey and let us know what you think. Your anonymous feedback will help us make Twit even better. And thanks for your continued support.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1693, recorded Friday, January 27th, 2017.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Blue Apron. Blue Apron will send you fresh, high-quality ingredients to cook delicious meals with simple, step-by-step instructions right to your door. See what's on the menu this week and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/TNT.
And by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. When it comes to the big decision of choosing a mortgage lender, work with one that has your best interest in mind. Use Rocket Mortgage for a transparent, trustworthy home loan process that's completely online at quickenloans.com/TNT.
Welcome to Tech News Today. This is the show where we tell you everything you need to know about technology that happened today or around today. I am Megan Maroney.
And I'm Jason Howell. Can you wiggle your ears? Or flare your nose?
I am wiggling my ears right now.
I could tell. I could see little tufts of hair go very slightly. I don't know why I asked you that. It's just something that I didn't know about you. And now that I know that you can wiggle your ears, we are one and the same.
Well, you should know that I'm also a liar. I can't wiggle my ears. But I will always say I can do something if you can't prove it.
Oh, okay. Perfect. I like how that works.
Now you have known something. Now you do know something about me.
Excellent. I do know something new. We'll see what this means for our working relationship going forward. LeakedSource, a site that housed a database full of more than 3.1 billion account passwords from many of the largest data breaches that we've heard of over the past year, that were made public last year anyways, has been raided by law enforcement, reportedly. The site had previously provided details to reporters about a few hacks that were big news. Adult Friend Finder was one, as well as millions of Twitter accounts that had been hacked, among others. LeakedSource was a for-profit site. So basically, they would charge users to gain access to all of that raw data, including passwords, which doesn't, very shaky ground from a legal standpoint when you're talking about this kind of stuff. At the same time, they were a big source for journalists for these hacks that were happening, oftentimes weeks ahead of the information getting out in other ways. So they would alert journalists and kind of create that story ahead of anyone else.
Definitely on a little bit of murky ground here. I mean, traditionally, journalists don't pay for sources. So there were people paying between $2 a day to $265 a year.
Were the journalists paying to get access to that information?
I mean, everybody had to pay to get access to it.
Yeah.
So if a journalist was trying to get a quick story.
I guess if this was a good place to go to know that there was something going on, I guess that would be the case.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be what was going on. So, it's not necessarily the kind of honorable whistleblowing that we like to think of.
Right.
I always think when that kind of information is leaked online, I don't like looking at it. I mean, I feel like it's illegal. It was hacked. It's not the kind of that's not the kind of, I don't think I'm really a journalist, but I don't go through that stuff. I just think it was obtained illegally, and so it's not my business.
Well, and there are sites that allow you to, so it's valuable to know if you were part of one of these lists, right?
Like, have you been pawned?
Yeah, have you been pawned? Pawned. Have you been pawn shopped?
I always say that. I just feel like pawn sounds
Although
so
I really like
better.
that as a title. Have you been pawned? And sorry. So on that site, you can actually do a search and put in like your information and see if it ended up anywhere. Here, I mean, they were even going as far as taking the encryption that was protecting these passwords and basically cracking it so that it would reveal the passwords, and you'd get even more than you would get if they hadn't gone through that, obviously. So it's hard to, I mean, it seems like you said, very shaky legal ground. But this is still not confirmed. Apparently, members of LeakedSource could not be reached, but they haven't been online the past couple of days. The site's been taken down. Justice Department isn't talking about this. So I'm sure this is a developing story, and we'll hear a little bit more. But once you read more into this, you're kind of like, yeah, that's probably not a good thing. Like, it really sounds like making money off of these hacks, even if in the grand scheme of things, passing that information to journalists or journalists getting access to that information was for the greater good of a lot of users, let's say. I don't think that justifies what was happening here, probably.
Yeah, I think there were probably many fewer journalists that were getting access to the information than people were using it for blackmail.
Right.
I mean, it
Yeah,
was
totally.
adult friend finder. It was things that people were doing that they might not have wanted the public to know. And that was why they hacked them. It was all
Right.
blackmail for blackmail purposes. And so, yes, somebody posted on Reddit that this is what happened, that they got raided, that the person that owned it didn't get arrested, but that all of their SSD drives were all taken. But we don't know that for sure. But another site's gonna, pop up. Right?
Take up the cause.
I'm sure. It's
Probably
not
so.
like
That's
there's
how
not
the
going to be
internet
someone
works.
else
Yeah.
probably already taking this, all this data, making it easily searchable, like off of the dark web that nobody likes to go, and putting it on the light web and having people pay to search it.
Right. Yeah, probably so.
Last month, a group of Silicon Valley bigwigs met with the then president-elect Donald Trump to discuss tech issues. Facebook COO Sheryl Sandberg sat next to Trump at the table and listened as he told her and those gathered that they were an amazing group of people. Now, a week into Trump's presidency, some of those leaders are beginning to either speak out against or try to woo the Trump administration. Today, in a post on Facebook, Sandberg took a stand against Donald Trump's reinstatement of the global gag rule and to support passage of the Global Health Empowerment and Rights Act to reverse this order and allow health organizations to freely provide full health advice and services to women. Meanwhile, the New York Times says Google is aggressively trying to woo Republicans. What do we think about our tech leaders currying favor with politicians or speaking out against their policies that don't necessarily have to do with technology?
I think everyone in this day and age, especially when you're commanding companies that pull as much money and as much influence as many of these top-level technology companies do, everyone has an agenda. Everyone has a bottom line. The stuff that I was reading today about Google, the past 8 years, very pro-Obama over the past 8 years. Well, 8 years is a really long time, and times change. And I mean, Google as a company it has to report to its shareholders. And so it has to do, as a company, what is going to move the company in the right direction based on what the circumstances are right now. So I'm not at all surprised that, times change, things change. It's nice to see some of these tech influencers come out publicly with their opinion on certain things that they either like or do not like that are happening in the public sphere. But I think ultimately, when it comes down to it, for these companies, they're going to do what's best for their bottom line.
Yeah, and I do wonder if there was because Mark Zuckerberg also posted on Facebook today about immigration and questioning some of Trump's new policies and proposals. And so I do wonder if Zuckerberg and Sandberg sat at a table and said, this is the best for our bottom line. And it is, if somebody at Google, if Eric Schmidt or someone else at Google wanted to talk about their politics, they wouldn't necessarily have the same platform. If they wanted to say something, where would they say it? Google Plus? Maybe.
They go to Medium. Isn't that where everyone goes to write their think pieces?
Exactly. But I think that, as the Facebook CEO and COO, they were sort of showing, Facebook is a place to express your opinions. It's a place to speak, not necessarily publicly, but
if you want to, you can.
Yeah, they were for sure speaking publicly, but they were also using their platform and sort of showing its possibilities as a conversation, of questioning.
Really good point.
So yeah, I think I think I'm just sort of saying what you're saying, which is they care about their bottom line. It was sort of a bit, even though they were criticizing the parts of the Trump administration, they were also showing off their platform.
Yeah, they're showing off the reach, the benefit of having a platform to use to, talk about, share your public stance. I think maybe the risk, from their perspective as leaders of these companies, some could maybe see them as countries also, is that they risk turning away users, right? Like coming out with an unpopular or very, pro or anti stance against something that a large population of its users actually feel so vehemently about that they decide to boycott the service. But I'm not even sure that's hurting these companies. Like, you remember pre-election, there was the Peter Thiel supports Trump thing that was, and now, of course, Thiel is part of Trump's team internally. But when that was all happening, that seemed to go so counter to what everyone was used to hearing from the world of technology and the leaders in technology. But did Facebook really suffer any consequences from a user standpoint? I highly doubt it. So even if people feel so pro or against what these influential people are saying in these regards, is it really affecting the company's bottom line for them to do that? I think, but you're spot on. This is a great example. Using these platforms like this is a great example of showing why those platforms exist and really kind of putting their money where their mouth is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I agree, and it's interesting because a lot of people were criticizing Sheryl Sandberg because she hasn't come out at all really since Trump took office. She didn't say anything about the Women's March, even though she was kind of an icon of the a very small part working world's wealthy feminist movement. Mm-hmm. And yet she didn't say anything about the Women's March. She didn't come out at all. But I still applaud her, and anyone who criticizes her for not saying anything. Well, none of these other leaders of tech companies said anything either. And when it came to, and she might have been speaking to all those people who say, well, he hasn't done anything. He hasn't done anything. What are you criticizing? And he did something, and she spoke up about it. She had worked at the World Bank. This was something that was dear to her heart, and understanding that this executive order of Trump's really will affect people's health, and she spoke up about it.
Yeah, and it potentially can, a lot of the other things that are kind of coming out in the news today about bringing, immigration more close to the immigration side of things could really affect these companies from from bringing in minds from all over the world. Like, I think that's also a big motivator for someone like Zuckerberg to really speak out, because so much of, so much of their team is filled out with people that could potentially not be allowed to come in, and that can affect how they produce their product. Again, going back to the bottom line of the company, what does it mean for the product that they create? You like big drives and you cannot lie. Admit it.
Okay,
this is quite a segue. When Seagate says it's working on bringing you a 16 terabyte hard disk drive, you can't stop thinking about what on earth you have that could even begin to fill up that much space, or maybe that's just me. Anyways, during Seagate's earnings call, the company announced that 14 and 16 terabyte hard drives are a thing. They're going to hit the market sometime in the next 18 months. They also have a 12 terabyte version in the works that they say should release even sooner, but they're still kind of testing that. No price, but just to give you an idea, current 10 terabyte drives cost around $400. And these are not SSDs, by the way. These are, helium filled, just standard, spinning hard disk drives.
Well, I mean, if you can't wait, because they said 18 months, if you can't wait, The Verge pointed out that there are, Samsung has a 15.36 terabyte SSD drive. That only will cost you $10,000.
Oh, okay. Is that all? Mm-hmm. Yeah, SSDs. I knew they were a little more expensive, but yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take us to get to 20 terabyte SSD as a standard, but everything's moving in the way of SSD. SSD prices are falling down, but when you're talking about these really high capacity hard drives, it's still kind of the standard spinning hard drive. And I don't know, what do you do with 20 terabytes of hard drive? What do you even do with that? I don't even know.
I don't think, you don't carry it around in your purse with your baby photos on it or anything. I mean, we're talking about enterprise.
Who can fill that?
Enterprise people can.
Yeah, I suppose that's probably what it is.
I don't
but
think
it's fun to think about, how could I possibly fill that? I could hardly fill 3 terabytes, I'm guessing.
I think it's for corporations, or maybe it's for the crazy Silicon Valley preppers, the ones that are waiting for doomsday and they're just keeping it.
They're hoarding their movies.
Yeah, they're hoarding their movies.
I'll never, in a not too distant future, Netflix won't exist anymore, and I'm going to need to watch Back to the Future. So
exactly. I mean, that's the smart thing to do.
Yeah, tell me about it.
After releasing earnings yesterday, Microsoft's value is as high as it has been in the past 17 years. The company's market cap crossed the $500 billion threshold today. And Wall Street says the fact that Microsoft is equally serving the consumer and the enterprise is what is making them so successful right now. Still, investors would like to see more from Microsoft devices. Of course, we covered earnings yesterday and talked about that, but it is really, today was the big day that they had passed this number, that they hadn't been that successful since March of 2000. And that
what a different internet to the March of 2000 was. I mean, that was like at the peak of the .com era, right before it all went to crap.
So let's hope that's not going to happen. Now, they still lag behind Google and Apple. They're still behind them in terms of market cap. And we also were discussing yesterday about whether Surface fell under the personal computing division, and it does.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Windows licensing and devices, and that fell last quarter.
Yeah. So Microsoft has topped expectations the last 7 out of 8 quarters. Super on a roll. Satya Nadella, obviously, he took over 3 years ago. Really just kind of transitioned the company, has really remade the company in many ways to focus on these cloud efforts and kind of pull away a little bit from the hardware aspect. And it really seems to be working. Think about who was in charge in the slumping years, and that's developers. So, we're on the upward trend, and that's a good thing for Microsoft, obviously. Great place for them to be right now. They're doing good things. How about a little good news, bad news? Fun little game, and then it's not so fun. First, the good news. On iOS, a platform that I have that Megan doesn't, because I'm using the iPhone right now.
Sad. I've never wanted the iPhone as much as I had today.
I know, you're really missing out. Let me tell you.
This is the low moment of the Switch.
This is the reason that you want iOS, Megan. Face app allows you to take any photo of a face. I seem to be really obsessed with these kinds of apps, and process it in ways that will make that person, maybe you, older, younger. You can reverse gender, and yes, it'll make you smile when the subject photo isn't smiling at all. And it's actually pretty convincing, although I'm realizing I've never seen him smile before. But I mean, convincing nonetheless. You'd see this photo and maybe you wouldn't think twice. Fun to play with for around 5 minutes, and then maybe you get bored of it. But still, we had fun with it.
Yeah, I'd say, there's you.
Okay. Oh, my goodness.
I don't know what's going on with your hair. Okay, so that's old you.
That's old me on the right. That's the normal photo on the left. Old me on the right, which if you knew my dad, that actually looks a lot like my dad. Bottom left is me as a woman.
With horrible hair.
I'm not as sure what's going on with the hair. It's like I didn't brush it or something. It's free falling or whatever. And then on the right is a pretend smile, which I don't know. I don't know if I smile normally looks like that, but
so you were kind enough to lend me your iPhone.
My iPhone, yeah.
And so I think that's me as a man. That's me regular. That's me as a man.
The you as a man is like crazy.
And then me fake smiling, and then in the bottom right, that's me as a woman.
Oh, what do you know?
So if I wanted to look more womanly, I think then I'd like brush my hair and thin my face a little bit or something. I don't know. But okay, so I posted this on Facebook, and some of my friends had problems finding it. And Dana Schwartz, thank you. Ooh.
Oh, this is Alex Gumpel here at Twit.
Alex looks like only one side of his face is a woman, I don't know.
Yeah, I see what you mean. The old Alex is really crazy. This is a really crazy app.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
I feel like Josh is a woman. So cute.
I haven't seen these. This is unbelievable.
Okay, so you have to look for Face app free neural face transformation filters.
Wow. Yeah, yes, exactly. You have to do the search properly, otherwise you won't see it. Man, that is
Did we not? We didn't add Jerry's. Because Jerry,
Oh, I wonder what Patrick would
How did
look
Patrick
like.
get such better hair than you did?
I don't know. Maybe I need to do it with a different backdrop. Maybe it was the backdrop.
Maybe.
Kara, there's Kara. Okay, so
Kara.
Oh, this is really interesting. So that's good news, right? We all smile, we laugh. It's haha.
Yeah, you could.
There's Jerry.
Oh yeah, there's Jerry.
Although the woman one for Jerry, I'm not sure what's going on there. Looks like a fictional character, like out of I don't know, a comic book or something. Although the what is that one on the right? Is
young Jerry? It's either hot Jerry or young Jerry. Hot because it's got the fire in it, so it's hot, and he has a white neck beard.
Because it didn't blur that out. All right, that's the fun. That's the good news, and then thankfully we can laugh. Now the bad news.
Don't rain on our parade. That's
I'm going to rain
There's
on your parade a little bit because I think this app is awesome. But courtesy of this article that I read yesterday by Nick Bilton on Vanity Fair, and we've talked a little bit about this in the past, but this is like fantasy meeting reality, and it's kind of frightening. Imagine that what you see right there is early days for this type of thing, this capability. Technology is obviously always expanding upon what we have right now to the point where we can soon pull this sort of thing off in real time with the equipment we already have. We've shown videos of this, right? Where it shows someone talking, the actor, let's say, and then it shows a webcam pointed at someone and they're moving their mouth and they can make the mouth of the subject move to do things relatively convincingly that they never did before. You think the internet is confusing now when it comes to what's real and what's fiction. Just imagine what happens when these tools reach the hands of anyone with let's say an agenda or an idea to influence, whatever the case may be. We used to think, I'll believe it when I see it. But I mean, it seems like in a very not too distant future, we're going to have a hard time believing what we see and what we hear.
I think they really missed out. They should have called the app Alternative Face.
Ooh.
Get it?
Yes, I get it. I get it. Yeah,
Thank you.
Got an
I
applause.
got some applause back there.
I just think it's a very fascinating direction that we're headed. I mean, this is definitely a very modern, some would say pretty political, theme that's going on right now as far as what's real and what's not on the internet. But technology like this complicates that in ways that we haven't really seen yet. And I have a feeling that's going to make things a lot more complicated.
That was a total buzzkill, but you're right.
There we go.
After the break, Sam Miskovich from Ars Technica is here to give us a preview of the games coming up next month. But first, let's take a minute to thank Blue Apron, the sponsor of this episode. Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. They have a mission, and their mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to you and to everyone, while at the same time supporting a more sustainable food system and setting the highest standards for ingredients and building a community of home chefs. Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with fresh, high-quality ingredients to help you make delicious home-cooked meals in your own home. Each meal will come with a step-by-step, easy-to-follow recipe card and pre-portioned ingredients that you can prepare in 40 minutes or even less. You can save time and money. Shopping at the grocery store is 60% more expensive than Blue Apron. And if you spend a lot of time eating out or you go to high-end grocery chains, you can now spend under $10 per person for a healthy home-cooked meal. Customize your recipes every week based on your dietary preferences and choose a delivery option that fits your needs. There is no weekly commitment, so if you want to skip a week, you can, and you only get deliveries when you want them. Blue Apron delivers to 99% of the continental U.S. Blue Apron sets the highest quality standards for their community of over 150 local farms, fisheries, and ranchers across the United States. Blue Apron not only supports a more sustainable food system, it supports happy and healthy families. Cooking together builds strong family bonds, and research shows that Blue Apron families cook nearly 3 times more often. New recipes are created every week by Blue Apron's culinary team, and they're not repeated within a year. Here's an example of some of the things that will come in your box: spicy shrimp and Korean rice cakes with cabbage and furikake, pork chops and garlic piccata with scallion rice and spinach, mushroom and chipotle pepper enchiladas with lime sour cream, and hoisin chicken steam buns with broccoli and marinated carrots. So check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/TNT. That's blueapron.com/TNT. And we thank Blue Apron for their support of Tech News Today. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. February is a time for love, especially if you love video games as much as Sam Miskovich from Ars Technica. Welcome back to the show, Sam.
Hi, yes, I love video games. We're here to talk about video games.
Yes. And
That's what we do here.
That is what you
Friday.
do here. You say it's a good month for gamers. Let's start with, I'm going to probably pronounce this wrong, Neo. Neo?
Neo, Nioh. It might be Neo. Either way. February is surprisingly loaded with games, I want to say, because all these game makers come up with stuff and they think they're going to get it ready in time for Christmas. And then they look at what games are coming out and they say, you know what, we're not going to compete with that. And we think grown-ups are willing to buy games other seasons. So yeah, this February is crazy. And the first game I want to throw out there that's coming out next month is called Nioh. Short version, Dark Souls has been very big. It's the kind of game that's very hard, where you have to swipe a sword really. It takes a long time to attack. You have to be very careful, and enemies are very deadly. Nioh is a twist on that, done by the people who made a game called Ninja Gaiden, which combines that game's speed and bloodiness with Dark Souls' incredible difficulty. People are really stoked on it. It's going to be a PlayStation 4 exclusive, I believe. I can't remember if it's also going to be on PC or not, but Sony's definitely getting it as a console exclusive for now.
Okay, Halo Wars 2 comes out on Xbox next month. What is new here?
Halo Wars 2 will be simul-launching. I like that word, simul-launching on Xbox One and Windows 10 computers. It's a follow-up to the original Halo Wars, which was only on Xbox 360. Think StarCraft, but with a Halo touch. It's going to have simplified, controller-friendly versions of that sort of RTS army management, but also it's going to have a blitz mode for online play, which lets you much more quickly get into like 5 to 8 minute online matches compared to like StarCraft taking 20, 30, 40 minutes.
Okay, the next one looked the most interesting to me, I'll be honest. A Night in the Woods. It's featuring the story of college dropout Mae Borowski returning home, but home isn't the same.
You pretty much sold how I would have described it. This team has been working on this. I can't remember their name for a couple of years. Finji. Oh, right. They make some really cool indie games, and they are. It's like almost Daria-esque. I loved that cartoon in the 90s on MTV. I love that sort of take on feminine identity, and it's combined with really good writing and art with an interesting mystery story going on. Very promising. We're all very excited at Ars Technica to play this.
Okay, so she's a feminine icon, but she's also a cat.
She's a cat, you know.
Okay.
She's definitely a girl, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Matters in the plot.
Okay, good to know. So For Honor, what's to know about that game?
For Honor is from Ubisoft. They've been delaying this game forever. It's finally apparently going to come out. 3-on-3 combat. You take a sword or an axe to a big battlefield, and it's a rock, paper, scissors thing of you against other people fighting online. It's all about positioning, controlling the turf. It's basically nobody's really gotten a sword-based online game to really work the way that they've gotten gun games to work. Ubisoft have been trying to make this feel good. They seem to have nailed something. We've yet to play the final game, but they've had a recent beta that's very promising. But just that very feeling, if you just want to play an online game and shout NYX, this game may very well let you do that. So we're hoping it's good.
Or freedom!
Yes, so many possibilities.
I do like to shout that. Okay, so Horizon is on the top of your list. Can you tell us why?
Oh, I can't, because I will be able to very soon, but I think I am allowed to say what has been publicly shown off, which is a very Zelda-looking open world, beautiful design, strong female lead, lots of mysteries, and a whole bunch of robot creatures that look kind of like deer and velociraptors that roam in packs. Very intriguing. I will tell you why it's my most awaited game of February next week.
I remember last week when you said something similar about a game. What was it? Resident Evil. Was it Resident Evil 7? Tell me a little bit about that, because I'm actually very interested in this.
I can tell you guys all about that one now that that's come out. Resident Evil 7 came out earlier this week. It's my first pick as an Ars recommended game at Ars Technica for the year. It is incredible. Resident Evil games in recent years have gotten a little action movie-ish as opposed to that original feeling of being in a creepy house and not knowing what's going on and having stuff scare the crap out of you out of nowhere. That feeling is back. and it's in VR if you want. It's on all of the consoles and on computers. So PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Windows. If you want to play Resident Evil 7 on a screen, just a normal screen, you can do that. It'll scare the crap out of you. It is in first person, and it feels a lot more like all of the horror games that have sort of jumped past Resident Evil in recent years. We're talking about everything from Silent Hill to Amnesia. You know, there's been a lot of good horror games since Resident Evil first broke out, and this game seems to really take some of those elements from other successful games and add its own creepy twist. Very cinematic, perfect kind of B-movie acting, which is convincing yet enjoyably cheesy, and some of the most amazing just moments that I've played in a video game in a long time. These are just these kinds of scripted, out-of-nowhere moments that I really suggest if you can get the game as opposed to watching on Twitch or YouTube, you should just get the game. There's some of these boss fights that just happen. I go, I cannot believe that just happened in a garage. That's sort of like weird, creepy house moment. This is set in small town Louisiana. You're in a plantation trying to save someone you love. Things go bad. I mean, that's really the shortest version. There's lots of blood. It's gross. There's lots of really cool lighting effects. There's bugs and salamanders and chainsaws and everything you might want from a creepy movie about hanging out with a nice Louisiana family that really wants to kill you.
That sounds delightful. So, okay, so there is a VR component to this game, a VR version of this game, rather. One of the questions that I've had when I can't remember which system it was, but we had, maybe it was the PlayStation VR, but we had it in-house, and there was kind of a horror movie or some game that I played through. And I mean, you get to this point where, you know, like in first or third person, like shooters and everything, you're used to like doing like, you know, basically killing someone, right? But when you get into VR, it becomes something entirely different. Like, is this a game that you actually want to do in VR? I feel like that could scar you for life.
I think they balanced the nausea and they balanced the fear. This is a game that will not make you, it'll push you in terms of terror and tension. There's creepy sounds going on all over the place when you're in VR. There's creepy scenery that's sort of jumping out to get you kind of feeling is extra intense, but it is right on the cusp. I think if you are sensitive, if you're the kind of person who struggles with scary video games to begin with, maybe not put the VR version on. Mm-hmm. I'm the kind of guy who doesn't really get scared by video games. Like they can be kind of creepy or exciting.
Right.
I don't go to bed scared at night. But honestly, with the way the world has been lately, I needed something to actually scare the crap out of me to distract me. And I found Resident Evil 7 was perfect for this week.
Awesome.
Well, speaking of the horror, Francis Ford Coppola has started a Kickstarter for an Apocalypse Now video game. Is it as exciting as it sounds?
Well, I got a chance to talk to the team before they unveiled their Kickstarter. They just hollered at me and said, hey, Ars Technica, you guys like Apocalypse Now? We're making a video game version. And I said, what? And the team explained to me some of their ideas and concepts. And then they both pushed a Kickstarter campaign out that has no real gameplay attached. They are asking for $900,000 to make a game that has apparently been in pre-production for 8 years. That's a lot of time since the idea cooked up and that they might try to push forward. And they don't even think they'll have it done till 2020. I and everybody else at Ars Technica has a little filter on our emails by default that sends things with the word Kickstarter into a separate folder that normally gets deleted for a reason. Kickstarter fatigue is real. You've got to come out swinging to essentially tell people, here's what we want to do. We just need the money to finish this and this and this. This Kickstarter just kind of throws out quotes from the movie and scenes from the movie and ideas, but it talks a lot about like combat, almost as if they want to make a combat game. There's quotes about how they want to be respectful to the fact that the film was an anti-war game or anti-war film, and they want to make a game that's in tune with that. But I just don't think they really know what game they want to make. I think they want the money first and then they'll come up with something. But they have a prototype video that just looks like pre-rendered ideas and nothing actually playable. And yeah, just say no to unplayable concepts if you go to Kickstarter. Give me a real solid game to look at before I go throwing my money at you.
No kidding.
Why does Francis Ford Coppola need a Kickstarter? He's a billionaire.
I think that the idea is that they want independence and get money up front without having to go to a publisher. What they've talked about is the movie was funded independently because the movie did things that Hollywood didn't think would work and succeeded accordingly. And I suppose Francis Ford Coppola and his team at American Zoetrope, which is run by his kids, among other people, is looking to sort of continue that, where they're not just going to throw money blindly. That if there is a demand for it, if gamers want to play an interactive version of the horror, if they really want to track down Kurtz and get into the madness of the Vietnam War, then they can do that. My suggestion, there's a game called Spec Ops: The Line. I don't think it's perfect, but I think it really does toy with the things that the Apocalypse Now film did in interactive form in a really interesting way. I wouldn't call it a fun game, but I would call it an important one. So go that direction if you're really curious about that sort of thing, of how Apocalypse Now could inspire an interesting game.
Or watch the movie or the documentary about making the movie. Also good.
Or watch all 5 different versions that have been put out in all 25 hours, give or take.
Yes. Sounds good. Or also you could read Heart of Darkness or listen to the Heart of Darkness audiobook. There's so many options.
Reading.
Thank you so much for joining us, Sam. It's always good to see you, and we look forward to seeing you hopefully next week to talk about the game that you can't talk about now.
Horizon.
Okay, Horizon. Thank you. Sam is a culture editor, culture reporter at Ars Technica, and at Sam Red on Twitter. Thanks.
Thank you, Sam. Wave back at you. Today's feedback actually comes in via Twitter. We actually got a couple of tweets that we'll highlight today. This first one by Steve Strahelelek, I think I got that right, who said, we mentioned this on the show yesterday. He said Google Home actually does play ads now when you ask it to play the news. They stick them in between the podcasts. Now, I've not heard these interstitials before. I did a little searching. I couldn't find anything on it. I followed up with Steve to ask what kind of ads he's heard. Steve responded, they seem to be personal or location-based. He said on January 1st, we got a new NBC Boston channel and their ad was played repeatedly. But I haven't heard these. So maybe it's like a, per area, and our area just isn't being targeted by this. But I guess I could kind of understand it if you're playing podcast after podcast and there's an ad in between. That kind of makes sense. I think what I wouldn't like is if I ask it a question like, what is the weather today? And before it gave me my answer, it had to read me this ad. And then it's like, all right, back to your question. Weather is blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, on Amazon smart home device, they...
Smart.
They do. If a podcast has ads in it, those ads will be played.
Right.
And we do the flash briefing that you can subscribe to on your device from Amazon. That is a smart assistant. You can do that, and we don't have ads on ours, but some do. Some of those flash briefings do have their own ads.
Baked in, or is Amazon like playing those in between?
No, I
pieces?
believe it's baked in. They'll say, like this Tech News Today flash briefing is brought to you by My Voice or something like that.
Got it.
Not that, but an ad.
Right. And we also got another tweet up next. What here? Yeah, didn't make it up there. Ryan, on Twitter, tweeted us a screenshot of the Google Home app showing that Domino's Pizza, if you click that and full size it, is actually available on Google Home. You had wondered that, and I was like, I don't think so. I hadn't heard about that. So the Echo isn't the only voice assistant ordering pizza for people. You can do, place your most recent order. Or an easy order. You can also track your orders through Google Home. So there you go. The question I don't know the answer to is whether Google makes any money off that. I'm guessing no, because I think Google wants to encourage people to use the platform. I think this is just another provider that is tapping into Google's service to, drive their business in the same way that any other service that works with Google Home is. Google just wants people to use it, right? That's my guess anyways. I don't know for sure. Up next, the bust on your bookshelf gets smart, because that's what we've always needed, right? But first, let's take a minute to thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. They're the sponsor of this episode. Rocket Mortgage is all about helping you, get a mortgage, or maybe refinance your mortgage if that's what you need to do. You want to buy that house, you need to go through the process to get the mortgage, and it's not always the easiest process in the world. I've been through it. It's a lot of information that you got to gather from a million different places. Rocket Mortgage is here to make that easier for you. When it comes to the big decision of choosing a mortgage lender, it's important to work with someone that you can trust who has your best interest in mind. And with Rocket Mortgage, you're going to get a transparent online process that that gives you the confidence to make an informed decision. You're going to know exactly what you have in store for you. So you won't waste time searching through stacks of paperwork to find all that information, which can be very laborious. With Rocket Mortgage, you can securely share your financial information to get a mortgage approval in minutes. And you can even kind of play around with the numbers. You can adjust the rate, you can adjust the length of your loan in real time so that you can make sure to get the mortgage solution that's right for you. Whether you're looking to buy a home or refinance your existing mortgage, you can lift the burden of getting a home loan with Rocket Mortgage. So check it out for yourself and see what you think. Skip the bank, skip the waiting, go completely online at quickenloans.com/TNT. That's quickenloans.com/TNT, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, and MLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030. And we thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support.
TNT's fan of the day is Grant Shaw, who sent us this picture on Google Plus saying, "Thanks, guys, for keeping me up to date with all the best tech news on my 1.5 hour commute to work. Keep up the great work." Grant.
Oh, so we're like half of your commute.
Well, maybe he plays us
most.
on like slow mode.
Yeah, many people speed us up, and he's like, "I just want this OneDrive to be nothing but tech news from Tech News Today."
Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Record a video, take a picture of yourself or your setup, post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, Facebook. Use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we will find it.
So someday we'll all have robots in our house, and we'll talk to them as if they are human. I mean, we can all agree about that, right? Megan, you'll have a robot in your house at some point. You'll talk to it. We kind of do that already. Every bad idea starts somewhere, though. Amazon's Alexa, not going to say the rest of that because it might fire off your Echo, API has been combined with a disembodied robot head created by a guy on the internet, Steve Studnicki. Nice last name there. And though it's a rough glimpse into our voice assistant future, everything starts somewhere. And this is what you get. The mouth moves as Amazon's assistant speaks.
A game where we take turns saying words. Your word has to start with the last letter of my word, and vice versa.
The head rotates, as you can see. Eyes flitter around, although they never really fully blink. I mean, they kind of blink, but they don't blink all the way, so that's a little weird. Her name is Elvia, and Steve created her with a simple USB sound card and easy robot software, at least the technology. And then, of course, there are like 2 mouth servos. You know, he did a bunch of work on the inside to animate and have it move around and everything. Frightening, to say the least. I'm sure this is just the beginning, though. What I'm wondering is, right now, our voice assistants resemble like air fresheners and home appliances. Is this the future of voice assistants? Like, why have it be a home appliance? Why can't it just be another person? Here's a bust of a head that talks to you.
Well, because that's completely terrifying. That's why not.
It's true. It is. But do we want to talk to a bust?
No, I think we want to. Here's our co-host
Have one
for the
look
day.
at us
Well, there's another video there where it's talking. He made 2, and they're talking to each other, which is equally creepy, I think. That's where that's where disaster.
That's pro level.
happens.
Yeah.
So I would like a robot that walks around my house and look like a robot. Like,
yeah, you don't want it to be too humanoid.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the robot talking to an Echo Dot.
Yes.
Alexa, thank you. My pleasure.
Oh my goodness.
Alexa, how did the Cubs do yesterday? Last night, the Cubs beat the Pirates.
Oh my goodness.
8-7
Robots are having a
extra
conversation with each other, and it's actually substantive to some degree.
The other disturbing thing about my Amazon Home Assistant that she will often read news about herself. Like there's a lot of news about how well Amazon is doing in the voice assistant, or there's news about the robot apocalypse, things like that. And it's really creepy when she reads it in her voice and she's talking about herself. It's very disturbing.
Yeah, no one really likes it when people talk too much about themselves.
Well,
that goes for voice assistants too.
It's so true.
Yeah, so true. TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, midnight UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be part of the show by emailing us, tnt@twit.tv. Love getting your emails. You can also leave us a short voicemail, though you never do, 260-TNT-SHOW, and you can find us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV.
Someone did leave us a voicemail with his email address, and I don't know why. And I feel like it was a mistake.
Here's my email address?
Yep.
Just wanted you to know.
Yeah. Should I give it out? No, probably not. It is time for our yearly Twit survey, and we do want to hear from you. So we can serve you better. Head over to twit.tv/survey, and you can be heard. Find all the ways to subscribe to our show at twit.tv/TNT. And if you want to tweet at me, I'm at Megan Maroney.
And I'm at Jason Howell. Thanks to our technical director, Anthony Nilsson. Thanks to Mario for helping out here in the studio. Thanks to Kevin for editing the show all week and making us look good, hopefully. And thanks to you for talking tech with us all week. We'll see you all on Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.